Hey everyone, I'm Mike Tagliere of the FantasyPros Football Podcast. Thanks for joining me today. As always, you can find all of our new content on youtube.com/FantasyPros. Also make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and don't forget to like and subscribe while you're there. But today, let's get into my top 10 must-have players for 2021 fantasy football. At number 10, we have New York Jets wide receiver Elijah Moore. There are some players who receive hype throughout the offseason. Most of it, you could just ignore. But when there's a steady drumbeat for one player, you need to listen. Every person that's stepped into Jets training camp has said Moore is the best player on the field. Him and Zach Wilson are developing rapport quickly. And don't forget about what A.J. Brown said about Moore, that he's a better receiver than Brown himself. At number 9, we have Los Angeles Chargers wide receiver Mike Williams. A player who's already shown 1,000 yard and 10 touchdown upside in the NFL now might be tied to the best quarterback of his career. Health has always been the issue with Williams, but that's kind of built into his price right now. If he plays the whole season, he's going to finish as a top 30 wide receiver. At number 8, we have Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Antonio Brown. The disrespect on his draft position right now is breathtaking. Getting Brown outside the top 40 wide receivers is one of the biggest steals in fantasy football right now. After getting his legs under him in week 9, which was his first game in nearly 2 years, Brown was the number 18 wide receiver in fantasy football from week 10 through week 17. He's the best value in Tampa Bay. At number 7, we have Bengals wide receiver Ja'Marr Chase. If you were to ask 100 scouts who the better player was this time last year between Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins, each and every single one of them would have said Chase. It's not just them either. Joe Burrow convinced the front office that he wanted Chase more than protection on his offensive line. Their chemistry from college is only going to help Chase's pro career get off to a blazing start. If A.J. Green got 104 targets in this offense last year, it should be no issue for Chase to hit the 120 target mark in year 1. At number 6, we have Carolina Panthers wide receiver DJ Moore. There were just 3 wide receivers who finished with 93 plus yards in 8 separate games last year. Calvin Ridley, Stephon Diggs, and DJ Moore. While the touchdowns were certainly lacking, there's something to be said about this stat and how undervalued Moore may be due to his lack of touchdowns. With Curtis Samuel out of town, we might see Moore in the slot far more often, which wouldn't be a bad thing. He's now finished with 1,175 plus yards in back-to-back seasons. It's only a matter of time before the touchdowns catch up, and if they do, he has top 12 upside. Number 5 on the list, Dallas Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. Some will say that Lamb can't break out with Amari Cooper there, but I disagree. In fact, with the way that they used Lamb last year, I'd argue he should break out in 2021. He played in the slot almost exclusively, which will leave him with much more favorable matchups than Cooper on the perimeter. Remember how Calvin Ridley and Chris Godwin ascended with Julio Jones and Mike Evans on the roster? Well, Lamb might be the next one in line. At number 4, we have Tennessee Titans wide receiver Julio Jones. It still feels kind of weird to say that. It also feels weird to say that you can get Jones in the 4th round of fantasy drafts. That's just stupid. He averaged a career-high 11.3 yards per target during the 2020 season and was the wide receiver 13.5 PPR points per game while ceding plenty of his work to up-and-coming superstar Calvin Ridley. But Mike, he's always hurt. No, he's not. He's played at least 14 games in 7 of the last 9 seasons and has totaled at least 1,394 yards in 6 of the last 7 seasons. At number 3, we have Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. Since becoming the starter 2 years ago, Lamar Jackson has posted QB1 type numbers in 76.7% of his games. Again, 76.7%. The only other quarterback who's posted higher than 64.8% in their career is Patrick Mahomes, who's sitting at 69.6%. On top of that, Jackson now has better weapons to throw to, yet some are ranking him as the 5th best quarterback in fantasy? Not me. Jackson should be in the conversation to be the first quarterback off the board. Snagging him in the 5th round is theft. At number 2 on our list, we have Pittsburgh Steelers running back Najee Harris. Scared of rookies? Don't be. Scared of the Steelers' offensive line? You really shouldn't be. There have been 66 running backs who have touched the ball more than 300 times over the last 10 years. Do you know how many of those 66 running backs finished worse than RB13? 2. Even those worried about Harris's offensive line will admit he's going to see 18 plus touches per game, which means he's going to break that 300 touch threshold as long as he remains healthy. His current ADP is in the 3rd round as the RB16. And number 1 on our list, it's Kansas City Chiefs running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Not many realize that Edwards-Helaire was the number 11 running back through 6 weeks without Le'Veon Bell on the roster. Even better, he was the number 11 running back while scoring just once during those 6 games. Had he scored just one more touchdown, he would have been the number 6 running back through 6 weeks. Now, of course, once they signed Le'Veon Bell, it ruined the stable touches he was getting. But with Le'Veon Bell gone and no one significant brought in this offseason, Edwards-Helaire should return to his 18-plus touch role in this offense. The Chiefs have rebuilt their offensive line, which should make life easier on Edwards-Helaire, who did average a solid 4.44 yards per carry in his rookie season. Touchdowns are what we're lacking, but don't bet on that again in what's likely to be the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL. And that wraps up my top 10 must-have players for 2021 fantasy football. Let me know in the comment section below, which players do you agree with? Which ones do you disagree with? Who would you put on your list? I want to know because I'm going to do the research for you guys. And you're not going to want to miss that because we're going to be posting updates to all this stuff here on our YouTube channel. So don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, get notifications, do all that fun stuff because we're going to be coming at you hard leading up to the 2021 fantasy season.